Section 3. He ran, leaving the lift on Green 4, his IDing card in hand, flashed both at a zealous trooper who tried to bar his way, and won through. Troops were gathered ahead, blocking off all view. He ran up and roughly seized, showed the card, and pushed his way past the troopers.
Damon!
He heard Aline's voice before he saw her, swung about and met her arms in the press of armored troops, hugged her in relief.
It's one of the temporaries,
she said.
A male named Big Fellow. Dead.
Get out of here. He wished her, not trusting the troops' good sense. He looked beyond her. There was a good deal of blood on the floor at the access doorway. They had gotten the dead Downer into a body bag and onto a stretcher for removal. Aline, her arm linked with his, showed no inclination to leave.
Door's got him,
she said.
But the shot may have killed him first. Lieutenant Vanars, off India,
she murmured, for a young officer urged his way toward them.
In charge of this unit.
What happened? Damon asked the lieutenant. What happened here?
Mr. Constantine, a regrettable error. The Downer appeared unexpectedly.
This is Pell, Lieutenant, full of civilians. The station will want a full report on this.
For the safety of your station, Mr. Constantine, I'd urge you to review your security procedures. Your workers blew the lock. That cut the Downer in half when the emergency seal went. Someone had that inner door open out of sequence. How far do these tunnels go? Everywhere? They've run,
Aline said quickly.
Down. Away from here. They're probably temporaries and they don't know the tunnels well. And they're not about to come out again with the threat of guns out here. They'll hide down there till they die. Order them out,
Vanars said. You don't understand the Downers, Damon said.
Get them all out of the tunnels. Seal them up.
Pell's maintenance is in those tunnels, Lieutenant, and our Downer workers live in that network, with their own atmospheric system. The tunnels can't shut down. I'm going in there, he said to Aline. They may answer. She bit her lip.
I'm staying right here,
she said,
till you come out.
There were objections he would have made. It was not the place for them. He shot a look at Vanars. It may take me a while. Downers aren't a negotiable matter on Pell. They're frightened, and they can get into places they can die in and cause us real trouble. If I get into trouble, contact station authorities. Don't send troops in. We can deal with them. If another gun goes off in their vicinity, we may not have a maintenance system, sir. Our life support and theirs are linked. A system in precise balance. Vanars said nothing, did not react. It was impossible to know if reason meant anything with him, or the rest of them. He squeezed Aline's hand, drew away, and shouldered his way past the armored troops, tried to avoid stepping in a dark pool of blood as he carted open the lock. The door opened, closed behind him, started its cycle automatically. He reached for the human breathing gear which always hung on the right of entry of such chambers, slipped it on before the effects became severe. His breath took on the suck and hiss he associated subconsciously with Downer presence, loud in the metal chamber. He opened the inner door, and the echo came back out of far depths. He had a dim blue light where he was, but he paused to unlock the compartment by the door and take out a lamp. The powerful beam cut through the darkness into a web of steel.
Downers!
He called, his voice echoing hollowly down and down. He felt the cold as he walked through the door and let it seal, stood on the joining platform from which the ladders ran in all directions.
Downers! It's Damon Constantine! Do you hear me? Call out if you hear me!
The echoes died very slowly, depth upon depth.
Downers?
A moan drifted up out of the dark, an echoing keening which stirred the hairs at his nape. Anger? He went further, gripping the light with one hand, the thin rail with the other, stopped and listened.
Downers?
Something moved in the dark depths. Soft footfalls rang very softly on metal far below.
Constantine?
An alien voice lisped.
Constantine, man?
It's Damon Constantine.
He called again.
Please, come up. No guns. It's safe.
He stayed still, feeling the slight tremor in the scaffolding as his feet trotted far down in the dark. He heard breathing, and his eyes caught the light far below, shimmer like illusion. There was an impression of fur, and another glimmer of eyes ascending by stages. He stayed very still, one man, and fragile in these dark places. They were not dangerous, but no one had attacked them with guns before. They came, more distinct in his handheld light, bedraggled and struggling up the last stage, panting, the one hurt and the other wide-eyed with terror.
Constantine, man?
That one said with a quavering lisp.
Help! Help! Help!
They held out hands pleading. He set the lamp down on the grating on which he stood and accepted them as children, touched the male very carefully, for the poor fellow was bleeding all down his arm, and drew back his lips in a fretful snarl.
All right.
He assured them.
You're safe. You're safe now. I'll get you out.
Scared, Constantine, man?
The female stroked her mate's shoulder and looked from one to the other of them with round, shadowed eyes.
All hide gone. Find no path.
I don't understand you.
More. We dead hungry, dead afraid. Please, help we.
Call them.
She touched the male, a gesture eloquent of worry. The male chattered something to her, pushed at her, and she reached and touched at Damon.
I'll wait,
Damon assured her.
I wait here. All safe.
Love you,
She said in a breath, and scrambled back down with a ringing of the metal steps, lost at once in the dark. In a moment more, shrieks and trills sounded out into the depths until the echoes redoubled. Voices woke out of other places, male and female, deep and high, until all the depths and dark went mad. A shriek erupted by him. The male shouted something down. They came in the silence which followed, ringings of steps on the metal deep below, callings occasionally echoing sharply, and moanings rising which stirred the scalp. The female came running back to stroke her mate's shoulder and to touch his hands.
I Satine. I call. Make he all right, Constantine, man?
They have to come through the lock few at a time, you understand? Careful of the lock.
I know lock,
She said.
I careful. Go. I bring they.
She was already hastening down again. Damon put his arm about the male and brought him into the lock, dragged his mask up for him, for the fellow was muzzy with shock, snarling with pain, but making no attempt to snap or strike. The next door opened, on the flare of light and armed men, and the downer started within the circle of his arm, snarled and spat, yielded to a reassuring hug. Aline was there, breaking through the troops, holding her hands out to help.
Get the troops back!
Damon snapped, light-blinded and unable to distinguish Venars.
Out of the way! Quit waving guns at them!
He urged the downer to sit on the floor by the wall, and Aline was ordering the medic over.
Back these troops out of here!
Damon said again.
Leave us to it!
An order was passed. To his great relief, the India troopers began to pull back, and the downer sat still, with some persuasion yielded his injured arm to examination as the medic knelt down with his kit. Damon tugged his own mask down, stifling in it, squeezed Aline's hand as she bent down beside him. The air stank of sweating, frightened downer, a pungent muskiness.
Name's Bluetooth,
The medic said, checking the tag. He made a few swift notes and began gently to treat the injury. Burn and hemorrhage. Minor, except for shock.
Drunk.
Bluetooth pleaded and reached for the kit. The medic rescued it and quietly promised him water when they could find some. The lock opened, yielded up a near dozen downers. Damon stood up, reading panic in their looks. "I'm Constantine," he said at once, for the name carried importance with the downers. He met them with outstretched hands, suffered himself to be hugged by sweating, shock-hazed downers, gentle enfoldings of powerful furred arms. Aline welcomed them likewise, and in a moment, another lockful had spilled out, making a knot which filled the corridor and outnumbered the troops who stood in the end of the hall. The downers cast anxious looks in that direction, but kept together. Another lockful, and Bluetooth's mate was with them, chattering anxiously until she had found him. Venars came among them, quite without swagger in this brown-furred flood. "You're requested to get them to a secure area as quickly as possible," Venars said. "Use your comm and clear us passage via the emergency ramps via 4 through 9 to the docks," Damon said. "Their habitat is accessible from there. We'll escort them back. That's quickest and safest for all concerned." He did not wait for Venar's comment in the matter, but waved an arm at the downers. "Come," he said, and they fell silent and began to move. Bluetooth, his arm done up in a white bandage, scrambled up not to be left, and chattered something to the others. Satine added her own voice, and there was a general and sudden cheerfulness among the downers. He walked, hand in hand with Aline, and the downers strode along about and behind them with the peculiar accompaniment of the breather sounds, moving gladly and quickly. The few guards along their route stayed very still, suddenly in the minority, and downers chattered with increasing freedom among themselves as they reached the end of the hall and entered the spiraling broad ramp which led to the doors on all the 9 levels. An arm snaked out about Damon's left as they descended. He looked, and it was Bluetooth, and Satine was with him, so they came 4 abreast down the ramp. Bizarre company. 5, for another had joined hands with Aline on the right. Satine cried something. A chorus answered. Again she spoke, her voice echoing in the heights and depths, and again the chattering chorus thundered out, with a bounce and steps about them. Another yelled from the rear, and voices answered, and a second time. Damon tightened his hand on Aline's, at once stirred and alarmed at this behavior, but the downers were content to walk with him, shouting what had begun to sound like a marching chant. They broke into Green 9 and marched down the long hall, entered the docks with a great shout, and the echoes rang. The line of troops which guarded the ship access stirred ominously, but no more than that. "Stay with me," Damon ordered his companions sternly, and they did so, up the curving horizon into the area of their habitat, and there to a parting. "Go," he told them. "Go, and mind you be careful. Don't scare the men with guns." He had expected them to run, scampering free as they had begun to do about him. But one by one, they came and wished to hug him and Aline with tender care, so that the parting took some little time. Last, Satine and Bluetooth, who hugged and patted them.
"Love you,"
Bluetooth said.
"Love you,"
said Satine, in her turn. No word, no question about the dead one. Big fellow was lost, Damon told them, although he was sure by Bluetooth's burn that they had been somewhat involved in the matter. Dead. Satine bobbed a solemn agreement.
"You send he home, Constantine man."
"I'll send," he promised. Humans died and did not merit transport. They had no strong ties to this soil, or to any soil. A vague distressed desire toward bearing, but not at inconvenience. This was inconvenient, but so was it to be murdered far from home. I'll see it's done.
Love you.
She said solemnly, and hugged him a second time, laid her hand most gently on Eline's belly, and walked away with Bluetooth, running after a moment to the lock which led to their own tunnels. It left Aline standing with her own hand to her stomach, and a dazed stare at him.
How could she know?
Aline asked with a bewildered laugh. It disturbed him, too. It shows a little, he said.
To one of them?
They don't get large, he said, and looking past her to the docks and the line of troops. Come on. I don't like this area. She looked where he had, to the soldiers and the more motley groups which ranged the upcurving horizon of the docks, near the bars and restaurants. Merchanters, keeping an eye on the military, on a dock which had been taken away from them.
Merchanters have owned this place since Pell began, she said. And the bars and the sleepovers, establishments are shutting down, and Mazian's troops won't be happy. Freighter crews and Mazgans, in one bar, in one sleepover. Station security had better be tight when any of those troops go on liberty.
Come on, he said, taking her arm. I want you out of this. Running out here, going out into that corridor with the Downers.
Where were you?
She shot back.
Down in the tunnels.
I know them.
So? I know the docks.
So what were you doing up in 4?
I was down here when the call came. I asked Keu for a pass and got one. Got his lieutenant to cooperate with dock offices. I was doing my job, thank you. And when the call came through Fleet Comm, I got Venars up there before someone else got shot.
He hugged her gratefully, walked with her around the turn into Blue 9, another barren vista of troops stationed at intervals, and no one in the corridors.
Josh,
he said suddenly, dropping his arm.
What?
He kept his pace, headed for the lift, gathered his papers from his pocket, but they were India troops, and they were waved through. Josh got picked up. Mallory knows he's here and where he is.
What are you going to do about it?
Mallory agreed to release him. They may have let him loose already. I've got to check comp and find out where he is, whether still in detention or back at his apartment.
He could sleep over with us.
He said nothing, thinking about that.
Which of us,
she asked,
is really going to sleep easy otherwise?
Not much sleep with him around either. We'll be jammed up in that apartment. As good have him in bed with us.
So, I've slept crowded. So it could drag on more than one night. If they get their hands on him.
Aline, it's one thing if Station handles a protest. There are things in this. Personal things with Josh.
Secrets?
Things that don't bear the light. Things Mallory might not want out. You understand me? She's dangerous. I've talked to multiple murderers less cold-blooded.
Fleet captain. It's a breed, Damon. Ask any merchanter. You know, they're probably kin of the merchanters on station standing in those lines. But they'll not break formation to hail their own mothers. No. What the fleet takes doesn't come back. You don't tell me anything I don't know about the fleet. I can tell you that if we want to do something, we should do it. Now. If we bring him in with us, we risk having that act in fleet files. I think I know what you want to do.
She had her own stubbornness. He reckoned matters, stopped at the lift, his hand on the button. I figure we better get him, he said.
So,
she said.
Thought so.